So my junior year of high school, it finally clicked. This God thing, this relationship with God thing finally clicked. And I think there were a lot of things that went into that. It was church, it was good friends and family. But really what happened my junior year changed my life forever. And that's when I finally opened up and really gave this book a try. The Bible. Yeah, you've probably seen one before. You probably own one. Last month we talked about prayer, but right now I just want to talk a little bit about this scary book because it can be intimidating. And when you open it up, it can really be, well, awkward. I mean, it's almost like a first date, trying to get to know somebody. It's a whole new language. It's from a different era. I mean, how does it relate to your life? Well, it does, and when you give it a chance, I promise, just like my junior year, it's going to start changing your world. So before we kind of open it up together and get into it, I'm going to just give you some tips so you can be opening it up over the next month, and that way when we get back together, you'll kind of have a better understanding of where I'm coming from. Is that cool? So here are some tips on how to deal with this big, scary book that's actually not scary at all. Number one, I wrote them down here. Number one, find a comfy spot. I got a good pillow here. I got a comfy chair, all right? Find a place in the house without distractions either. That would be my number 2 point, so that you can really focus. If I've got my Facebook open, let me tell you, and I do that sometimes, if I've got that open, I easily kind of start turning my gaze towards the computer. It's really easy to do that. So turn off the iPod, turn off the computer, get somewhere comfy, and get somewhere where there's no distractions. And then before you even open up this book, do what we talked about last month. Go ahead and pray. Talk to God. Say, God, I need help focusing, and I need you to really speak to me through these words. Would you help me understand that? And he will. He always does. He meets you right where you're at, and it's really cool. And then, well, obviously, you start reading. I would start out with a smaller book, maybe 1 John. That's a good one in the New Testament. And you read, but don't read too much to where your mind is boggling, right? Read just a little bit. And then I would suggest to repeat. Just like when you study for a test, you're not going to go through your notes once and then remember everything, right? Because a lot of times I'll be reading and I won't remember the next day what I read. That's why it helps to repeat a little bit. So pick a small book, pick a little section, and then repeat it for a while. And it really helps that way. I would suggest also to have out a journal. A journal is a good way to write down maybe a word that comes to mind or a phrase that you really liked, and then start journaling to God about it. Talk about why it helps you during that time of life. You know, you could be reading about forgiveness when you're having issues with your sister. You could be reading about, I don't know, joy when you're really sad. And so you want to write those words down. And that way, it just starts sinking in your heart a little bit more. It starts becoming personal to your life, and that's huge. All right, another tip. Go ahead and start finding different resources to help you outside of just the Bible. I would suggest maybe having a little Bible study that you join, or maybe like this is a Bible here that inside has different excerpts from the guide. This happens to be the Message version here. This is a version that I really like. And he has little excerpts here that help me understand a passage that could be confusing. So you can go online. There's a ton of resources. You could go to your youth pastor and ask him. But there's a ton of cool resources out there to kind of help you go a little deeper and understand the passage a little bit more. And then I would ask you to find a friend. Find a friend to talk about the Bible with. Find a friend that can hold you accountable to read your Bible. That's always important. And that way you guys can discuss it and you guys can make it real and a part of your friendship, and it's huge. And then I would really suggest just listening to the word. The best way to hear it out loud is by going to a church steadily. I know that seems obvious, but a lot of us aren't really involved at a church. But there you're going to get really good teaching of the Bible. And if you don't have a good church, start talking to some friends that you know may be involved in their church and go with them. So those are just kind of some tips on how to finally first start cracking open this book. And then when we get together next time, we're going to go through a passage together and work our way through it. So thanks for hanging out with me. Hope that's somewhat helpful, and I hope you're doing well during this busy season of life. Don't forget to pray And don't forget to try opening this thing up once in a while. It'll really encourage you.